JameStation64.
Welcome to JameStation64, and I want to start by thanking you for your feedback on the first 2 episodes. Hopefully the channel will continue to grow with time as I guide you through more of the N64's amazing library of games. So today we check out the final instalment of the Nintendo 64's launch lineup with Pilotwings 64. This is the second game in the series. The first was a launch title for the Super Nintendo, and interestingly the third game was also a launch title but for the 3DS, that being Pilotwings Resort. This isn't a coincidence. The series, although it isn't Nintendo's biggest, has built a reputation for showing off Nintendo's latest hardware, whether it be Mode 7 on the SNES, no glasses 3D effects on the 3DS, or full polygon 3D environments here on the Nintendo 64. It would be wrong though to just call Pilotwings games a series of tech demos, however. Before we go any further, I have a confession to make. I am going to try and finish any game that I review. At least attempt to get to the end credits. The truth is though, I suck at Pilotwings 64. One of the reasons for this review has taken so long to come out is because of how bad I am at it. I managed to unlock the first 2 extras, Birdman and Cannonball, but that is it. Truth is, I'm not going to beat it. In any review I do, if I haven't seen all the game, then I'll be transparent about it, and this is one of those cases. Given Pilotwings 64's job of showing off the hardware, it certainly worked at the time. Looking at this through a 1997 perspective, it looks gorgeous, and Nintendo and Paradigm, who developed the game in tandem, made sure the islands were on a scale that gave you plenty of detail without having to resort to lots of pop-up. From a modern view, the one issue I have with the visuals was the frame rate, in particular when there were thermals. It's already suffering from a poor PAL optimization, so the frame rate drop is very noticeable for most of the game. Like Super Mario 64, Pilotwings goes for a cartoony aesthetic, with bright and colourful visuals which help the game age much better than games with a more realistic look. Textures are very simple but not ugly and fit perfectly well with the feel of the game. Same with the music, nothing complex or groundbreaking but nice relaxing ditties that fit in well with the game's nature. The gameplay takes a very sedate pace as you would expect from a flight simulator. Pilotwings is split into various different types of flight apparatus, and then further split into different classes that are essentially difficulty levels. The meat of the game is split between the hand glider, rocket belt and gyrocopter. First up, the hand glider. If you're familiar with Super Mario 64's wing cap, then you'll get the basic principle. You'll begin in mid-air and are able to ascend, descend and turn using the analog stick. Like Mario 64, you gain speed by descending and lose speed by trying to ascend. Early missions often see you try to navigate a series of rings before landing on a target, but you will also find yourself having to ascend to a specific height or take pictures using the Z trigger of specific landmarks prior to landing. You are graded and assigned points based on requirements such as landing accuracy, impact, time, and whether you have achieved other required goals like going through all the rings or the quality of the picture, depending on the scenario. The hand glider controls absolutely as you would expect, but it is susceptible to the whims of the wind, which isn't something you had to worry about with Super Mario 64's wing cap. You also have thermals to deal with. If you fly through them, it will give you extra height very quickly. Landing is real tricky though, as you have to manage your speed using the brake and your height. A bad landing can really ruin a run. It's very satisfying to control and really makes you think about how you use the analog stick, a great introduction to the Nintendo 64's controller. The next set of challenges is the rocket belt. This controls a lot like a more complex version of Star Wars Shadows of the Empire's jetpack. It is, however, where I personally get very frustrated. You have 2 speeds of thrust to deal with, as well as a hover function. Your levels have a very similar variety to the hand glider. Flying through rings is a real staple of the game, but you also have to deal with platforming as well. The frustrating issue here is depth perception and inertia. Trying to navigate through rings is very difficult at times, as judging exactly where the ring is in relation to you, especially the moving ones, is tricky, but adding the inertia you develop, not an issue in Shadows of the Empire, you can find yourself repeatedly missing rings. You can't finesse your way around these challenges like you would expect. You really have to commit to the rocket belt runs to make the time limits, which feel counterintuitive to me. It's by far the least enjoyable of the initial vehicles. Finally, we have the Gyrocopter, probably the most satisfying of the three initial vehicles to control. Similar to the hand glider in some respects, but here you have your own power source instead of solely relying on the elements. Like the rocket belt, you also have a fuel meter to deal with, but I've never found that an issue on the early levels anyway. This is also where you have combat elements, as you can fire rockets which can be used to take out targets or the crazy Mecha Hawk terrorising a town. Although fun, you quickly realise the margin for error is small due to the slow turning circle and tight time limits here. Miss a shot and have to make a U-turn, then you may as well reset. Keeping in mind, you have to take into account wind direction in your calculations as well as flying the Gyrocopter when it can be very frustrating. There are a series of extra vehicles which are unlocked by earning a silver medal across a particular class with all the vehicles. I couldn't get them all as I'm just not very good at the precise nature of the game. I did unlock the Birdman costume and the Cannonball target game, however. Birdman is fantastic to control and allows you to free roam around the island, while Cannonball target is exactly what you'd expect, with points being awarded for how close to the bullseye you are. The other two are the skydiving levels and the Jumbo Hopper, neither of which I was competent enough to unlock. I did have a lot of fun with Pilotwings 64 and the controls are very precise, but perhaps too precise for me personally. My hand-to-eye coordination isn't great and this really isn't the type of game for me. I do know people who describe this game as being way too easy, whereas I found it immensely frustrating, so it does do to bear in mind what your strengths and weaknesses are as a gamer. For a game that has a reputation as relaxing due to its sedate pace, I was ready to lob the cartridge through the bloody window at times. So I'm going to go with 2.5 out of 5. Despite the enjoyment I got with this, I also struggled to want to play it for extended lengths of time because I can't afford to lose any more hair. It's a very easy game to come by. There's plenty of copies on eBay and an unboxed copy is easy to find for less than a tenner, with a complete inbox copy not going for much more than £10 if you're lucky, so not a high risk investment at least. Thank you for checking out episode 3 of JameStation64 and cheers for all the brilliant feedback from the first 2 episodes. A big thank you to my cousin Marshall for providing the excellent logo. Check out all his other work on social media, links on screen now. Special thank you to the amazing Cliff over at the fantastic N64 Live podcast and my dude Jason, who have all been great supporters of the show from the beginning. Stay tuned for some dinosaur hunting and I'll catch you later.